In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this wonder twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as tomorrow's legends.
Harley? Harley! Are you okay?
Harley isn't here right now.
What? Harley, what's going on? You don't sound yourself.
That's because she isn't herself. She's mine now.
No! You can't have her! She may be a bit snarky sometimes, and that hammer can be a pain, but she's our Harley.
She's yours no longer. This body is just a vessel, and soon I will be free.
That's it. I'm calling for some help.
Hi, this is John Constantine. If you feel you've reached this message in error, then sod off, you lucky bastard. The rest of you, don't leave a number. Unlock the door. Cheers.
Oh, no.
And now, here are your hosts, Flash and Harley Quinn.
Hello, Legendaires! Welcome back to Tomorrow's Legends. We're here to cover Season 3, Episode 10, Darhkest. I'm the Flash.
And I'm Harley Quinn.
Okay, you just totally creeped me out there, you know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh. Okay, maybe I'll have to fill you in on what happened later. You might be needing to seek some help, Harley.
Well, we usually have this whole, bit that we do in the intro. Do we just not do that tonight?
Oh, man, you don't really remember anything.
I got nothing.
Legendaires, I'm gonna need some help with this. Oh, man, is it good to be back?
Yes, It's awesome to be back. This was such a good episode.
I don't know about you, but I had such a feeling of I've missed these guys. I've missed our team. I've missed our show.
Me too.
Yeah. And you know who we're missing out on, who we've also not had on our show for a while? Our dear friend, Gideon.
Hello, legends.
There she is.
There's Gideon.
Well, let's get into this, Harley, because I think we got a lot to dive into. This show packed a ton, as much as the punch it was packing, trying to freak us out. So why don't we dive right into your impressions and what you thought?
Oh, man. It's so good to be back. I gave this episode a 9.5. I just want to watch the football game. I'm not going to lie, I can kind of relate to that in a little bit.
Right.
Just want to watch my football game. I don't want to be interrupted, guys. Come on.
Not at all. Not ever. Do not interrupt football.
I know. Oh, man. Let me tell you, this is how you come back from a break. Man, this episode, it was so good. It was jam-packed from start to finish, and I absolutely loved the Constantine feel, the Constantine vibe. It was throughout the entire episode. It was great. It was creepy, but it wasn't over-the-top creepy, and it wasn't, campy, cheesy creepy. It was actually creepy. It was really good.
Yeah.
And they had the comedic relief in there, kind of broke up a little bit of the tension, so it wasn't just all creepy for 45 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
Of course, you have to get some Mick in there. He was absolutely priceless. His quotes this week were fantastic, and I absolutely loved them. And then, of course, the final scene where him and Snart actually finally get to say goodbye. Oh, it was so touching. I'm so sad. But I'm glad they actually got an ending. They got their closure. So that made me feel better.
Yeah, and we'll definitely talk a lot more about a few of those things you brought up for sure. But I are you surprised? Like, I'm surprised hearing it from you, and I was surprised myself that you enjoyed and I enjoyed the whole Constantine magic dark arts vibe, because we've said before we weren't really that fond of him on Arrow and the whole magic angle. Yet, yeah, it worked for both of us.
It did. They did it well. I mean, I've kind of been saying it this whole season. I wasn't excited about the magic coming in heavy this season. I was a little bit worried about it because of how it was handled on Arrow. But this season, they have done it well, and they did this well. What they did with Constantine here was what I wanted on Arrow 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
So, or 3 seasons ago. Was that season 3 or season? No, it was season 4.
Season 4.
It was season 4. Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I've been looking for, and I loved it. I thought it was very well done.
Well, that's awesome. You can't ask for a better comeback than that to please Harley.
No, you sure can't. Well, what about you? What was your rating?
I'm kind of right up there with you. I give it a 9 creepy exorcist vibes, because yep, I have to agree, as I already said, that's how you come back from a hiatus. And that's how you make up for a total crap the previous episode. Bebo, I'm talking to you. This was our Legends show at its best. Everyone in their proper character behaviors, well-written and perfectly timed humor that fit the scene, with a good mix of serious drama, touching moments, shocking surprises, and WTF ending to leave us hanging in good old Legends style. Now back to the beginning, because what an opening! Tense, dark, music rising to a something's gonna happen crescendo, very akin to the best demonic type horror movies out there, and then it kept up that feel throughout the episode. Very freaky, and not for the faint of heart. I was feeling very proud of our show all the way through. I was feeling really excited to be back. I was feeling all choked up at having our gang back, and I felt like fist pumping the air at the end. So I'm just hoping this continues right on through for the rest of the season.
Me too. Like I said, it was quite the way to come back from a hiatus.
Definitely. Oh man. All right, let's we got a little bit of news to report, so let's get into that.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
All right, what do you got for us, Harley?
Just a reminder, obviously, we're back. So if you didn't know, now you do. New night and new time. Through the rest of the season, we air on Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern. And that's the Supergirl time slot. So there's no breaks. We're running straight through the end of the season. And then Supergirl is going to come back with no breaks to finish their season. So it's quite the accomplishment that they're pulling off. I think it's something like 52 straight weeks of DC TV on Monday nights. It's pretty crazy.
How funny is that it ends up being 52?
52.
Yeah.
I wonder if they did it on purpose, actually.
Well, they're definitely pulling some strange strings and switcheroos behind the scenes there. Like, people are wondering what's going on with their shows. Why is Supergirl going off for that long? Why was Legends off longer, and now we're coming back and ending earlier than all the shows? They've obviously have to have some kind of plan in place. We don't fully know what it is yet. I don't know if it has to do with ratings, if viewership, if shows are in trouble, because we've had no word about which shows are being picked up again yet. Nothing. So it's kind of a guessing game as to what's going on and why.
Yeah, so we'll definitely kind of keep an eye on the news on that end and see what's going on, and if some more news starts to trickle out as we hear what's been renewed and what hasn't. But I mean, I don't really think our show's in danger of anything, but who knows? You never know, so we'll just have to see what they say.
You never know. And then the one little tidbit that I think everybody knows about is just that we've got Wally West coming to our show.
Oh, yeah, we do, which is going to be super exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that is quite a superpowered meta on our show. We're kind of a little bit low on metas right now, if you really think about it. I mean, it's steal.
That's true.
Nate
Yeah.
is really the only full-fledged meta, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's actually true. I didn't actually think of it that way, but yeah,
so it'd
we
be
could
interesting
use
to
one.
see. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with him, what kind of stories they write around him, and how he's going to help this fighting Mallus cause too.
Yeah,
Interesting.
definitely. Then I just want to say one final reminder, just since there's no breaks, our finale will air on April 9th, 2018.
Yeah.
So
Yep. But hey, 8 episodes straight. This is going to be fun.
it's going to be great.
Eight straight episodes of Legends, 8 straight weeks of us being back because it feels like it's been a while. Yay! We're
Yay!
back. Then the other little bit news we just want to remind everyone is about Patreon. We do have a Patreon account, and we love all our supporters that are on there already. And we just want to remind people that you can get on there, and there's so many different levels of donations that you could, like all the way down to I think $2 or $3. I'll have to look at it again, but it just helps us cover costs of running the show. And the reason we're bringing that up again is because we do have our merchandise in finally, and it's just not quite lazy old me, but don't have a lot of time me right now because of how busy I've been in life and work. But we've got the price list put together now. I'm just trying to make some type of picture arrangement or something that we're going to be posting. So our Patreon supporters, this is kind of like a perk for you guys. The way I was thinking on doing it is if you guys have reached a certain level of supporting us, like say the $50 level or $60 or whatever, we'll be sending you out a t-shirt as a thank you. So we'll need to get in touch with all of you guys and get you guys to give us your shirt sizes and preference, because there's going to be a couple to choose from. So that's the beginning of that, and then we're going to post it to the Facebook page, and I'm not sure if we can get it on our website right now, but it will definitely go public right after this episode releases, and you guys can all have a look at it with the price points and everything. And with that, there's going to be t-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve shirts, pens, and a couple other like merchandise items like that. The prices are not very expensive at all. We're not actually trying to make money off this. It's I've gotten some pretty good deals on some of these things, so we're basically just selling them to you guys slightly above cost to cover shipping charges and taxes, and I think me and Harley might get $1 or $2 out of it, kind of thing, right, Harley?
Yeah, maybe.
Like it's not a money making thing at all. It's just something fun that we wanted to do to hopefully give to you guys, our fans, to have a piece of the show and wear a shirt or whatever it is you guys want to have, and people start asking questions. What's tomorrow's Legends? What's that? And you guys can tell them all about our show, and it's about the DC TV show Legend of Tomorrow. I think it's just a promotional thing, and it's fun, and yeah, that is that. So
Yeah, I think it's fun. It'll be fun.
So in order to figure all out, if you guys want to check out Patreon, here's how you can do that.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
All right, let's dive into our show. Now that we got the business out of the way, Arlie, where are we going to start off first?
Oh man. Okay, so there's a lot to tackle in this. So I know sometimes I like to do the small things first, but I'm taking the opposite stance this week. I say let's dive into this main storyline that's got all the meat, and then we can wrap up some of the cool little things afterwards. So,
All
right. So our first storyline I have entitled "Saving Nora Darhk." Because, as it turns out, the little girl that's been possessed by a demon that Constantine is trying to save is none other than Nora Darhk.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that was insane. I was not expecting that. I don't know if that was well publicized or not. I didn't hear about it, and so when they had that reveal on the show, I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I don't remember seeing it coming. I had no wind of it at all. It was, and the way they weaved it around, I mean, we dealt with a lot of time jumping with her story too. So Yeah, hopefully you've got a bit of that straightened out, because I think I might still be a bit confused.
Oh, yeah. No, her storyline gets a little crazy. So, the first thing that I've noted is, first of all, we are in Star City in the year 2017.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a timeline that is established. It is, for lack of a better time, I think is meant to be present day, even though, we are currently in 2018.
Yep.
And I grabbed a screen cap that they had of her intake paperwork just because I thought it was really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see kind of like the date that she was admitted is September 23rd of 2017. So I don't know what month it is that they're supposed to be there.
Right.
But I'm guessing it's probably not long after that. And then it says her name, and I don't know if there's any Easter eggs with any of these numbers, but the other thing that I found interesting is that we had her birth date of February 12th, 2003. So we can age her very specifically. Yeah. Well, we don't know, I guess, how old her future version is, but
yeah, that's true. Well, it's kind of interesting. If you look at her address, it says Elm Street, which I thought was kind of funny.
Oh, now that is hilarious.
As a Nightmare on Elm Street, yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yes, that's fantastic. There's not much else in here. I thought it was odd that they just made a note that there were no allergies found. So I was like, I don't know what that has to do with anything, but
yeah, well,
it was the only other.
It says recommend to do a full injection before she goes to sleep. So I'm guessing they don't care about what they're sticking in her because she's not allergic to anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of interesting.
I have to say, like the girl playing Nora Darhk, was she creepy to like the max.
Oh yeah, she did such a good job.
Oh yeah, I mean those red contacts or whatever it was they put in her eyes. I couldn't tell if it was digital effects or if it actually was a contact. It looked pretty real, so I was assuming contacts, and it just definite. She nailed that.
Yeah, I don't know how they're doing that red eye effect, but it is very cool and very creepy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so definitely tip my hat to her. Excellent creepified performance. Don't come to my house.
Right, definitely. Yeah. All right, so we learn lots of tidbits of information. The first bit that we learn is so Constantine at this point is trying to perform an exorcism and save who he's calling Emily. Mm-hmm. Well, we at this point don't quite know that Emily is really Nora Darhk, but we find that out very quickly. And so while she's possessed, when Mallus takes over in this opening scene, he specifically mentions Sara Lance.
Yeah.
So Constantine's confused, of course, because he's like, well, what does Sara have to do with any of this? I brought her back or reunited her with her soul or whatever it was he did in Arrow a couple seasons ago. And we presume he's been off doing whatever he does.
Yep. Dark
and
arts.
So... yeah, and so now he's coming to save this girl who all of a sudden is dragging him back into Sarah's world. So that was pretty interesting to get them kind of looped back together.
Well, what I liked about it is it really ties in the Arrowverse. Like
it does.
This all happened a few seasons ago on Arrow, and to tie it all back into that history really, really is seamlessly just sewing our shows together, and it just felt so organic and so, like you better be a fan of the entire Arrowverse because there's so much going on here, so much history and shared past with different characters that are all over the shows now. And
yeah, you can definitely miss a lot or not fully appreciate, I guess, everything, because I felt like just by not having watched all of the Constantine episodes that I was already missing out on quite a lot. I mean, I obviously understood the point and what they're trying to get at, but there were a lot of Easter eggs and little references to his show that I completely missed.
Yeah.
I've actually put a link on our blog post that has all the Easter eggs and references for those that were curious or for those that just didn't know, like me. I mean, so.
Yeah, well, I think there's a few people even on our Facebook page that were saying they'd never watched Constantine. I know Jada, he was one of them, and he was asking how good it was, and I said, yeah, I couldn't finish it because I didn't even get past the second episode because it was a little dark and violent and a lot more demonic and gross than I expected from a show like that. So yeah, it surprised me, and I'm not always that fond of that kind of stuff, not for that length of time.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have to give it a shot. They are showing all of the episodes on the CW Seed.
Okay, well.
So the CW has, I guess, officially acquired all the rights to Constantine, including prior work. So if you want to watch it, that's how you do it.
Awesome.
But anyway, so Constantine tracks down the legends, which I found kind of creepy and funny.
But he explained how.
He did explain how, which I'm not 100% sure I got, but like,
something
okay.
to do with Sarah's when he's able to be in touch with, it almost sounded like the scent of her, but it wasn't the scent. It was like an energy residue that she left when he helped her out, and he's able to tune into it and track her and trace her no matter where she goes because he knows what that energy residue is.
That must be the same way that Mallus is tracking her as well.
Yeah, could be.
Because, because as Sarah informs Constantine, she took a trip to the spirit world. I think we postulated everything except the spirit world.
We kind of did, yeah. And then it just seems such like a simple answer. Oh, it's just the spirit world. Because they use which we'll get to in a little bit, where they use the time rocks, and we assume they're time traveling. But where did she go? Because she's separated from Darhk and did not time travel with them. So, okay, Mallus pulled her out. Is this like a dimensional tunnel? Is this like a stop-off point? And Mallus sends them on to whatever time they need to go to. We had no idea what it was, but it's simply the spirit world, which leaves the question, well, if she's using the time rock, how does she go to a spirit world from there? How did that happen? But anyway.
I'm guessing that when she grabbed on to like Darhk as he was trying to travel through time, that sort of like linked her into Mallus's power, if you will. Okay. And so Mallus was then attuned to her and could pull her into his world while letting the other two kind of float through time.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, this might come up a little bit later, but we saw that when he possesses Sarah or when he possesses Nora, they go into a spirit world while he's in control of their physical bodies. So that was an interesting kind of connection.
Yeah, that was really interesting, and I liked that. I was kind of thinking of this spirit world almost as like the Legends version of a limbo or a purgatory. Okay. And it reminded me, and maybe it's because it's John Noble, but it reminded me an awful lot of Sleepy Hollow.
Okay, yeah.
Did you watch Sleepy Hollow at all?
I watched the first 2 seasons. I got to finish it. I absolutely really love that show. So,
well, let's move on to our next point, because I've got Constantine has said another quote here, and I found this very, very interesting. Because he says, if we are lucky, Mallus hasn't cemented control over the girl yet. So I found that interesting because it's very, very, very similar to the way that we typically describe time changes. Yeah. So it takes time for time to cement, takes time apparently for demons to take control. I found that interesting to have that parallel, especially since Mallus has been manipulating time so much.
Yeah, well, and like it makes sense on our show, but it does make sense because if you think about any horror movies, any demonic possession type things, they never do even ghost takeovers. Like they never fully take over the person's body on the first try. It's they possess them over and over and over again, and every time they do, the person is more lost and the demon gains more control. So it totally plays into every other type of film or TV show that's done this. It makes sense. So they were right in line with how I don't know the characteristics of that type of writing work.
Yeah,
Whether
it's definitely
real in real life too, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, but it's definitely very interesting.
Yeah, definitely was.
Um, all right, so I don't have a whole lot of extra notes on this particular note, but I did find it very interesting that when Mallus possessed Nora, she or he or however you want to phrase that was able to just draw that same time travel symbol that we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought everything was kind of linked in with the rocks, but it looks like it's it's definitely the symbol and not necessarily the stone, I guess, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's not the stone that has the properties. It's the fact that the stone had that symbol carved into it, so they can, I guess, essentially activate the stone whenever they want. Because it's how they do that, I don't know yet. Maybe they just have to rub the symbol or something, but
yeah,
they're able to activate the stone because it's actually carved into it. So I guess just drawing the symbol on the ground in front of you creates the same kind of portal opening that you can jump into.
Yeah, and then it kind of just uses Mollus's power, because I think even Constantine said that he wasn't able, like, he doesn't have that much power. Like, he can't send them through time. Like, Mallus had to be the one specifically to do it, which is why he ends up possessing Sara again later in the episode.
Yeah.
Because that was the only way they could get back.
That's the only way they could get back. Yeah, that was a little bit of a risk to take, but it does bring it back to the stones. I mean, that we were wondering about those, and that's what we were saying in our opening monologues here. Like, they answered quite a few things that we've been wondering about, and this was one of them. Like, what are the rocks? How do they work? What's going on? And they just said right away, it's a rock that has this symbol, and they said it's what did they say? Oh, sorry, it was Gideon. She says it's a runic symbol of the dark arts for temporal manipulation.
Yes, exactly.
There we go.
So like, we kind of got it confirmed that they're time stones, sort of, but that Mallus is using dark arts to manipulate time and kind of in some ways space, since he kind of ends up drawing them into that spirit world as well.
Right.
They're obviously not quite there physically, which also kind of explains a little bit more about maybe how Sara came out of the spirit world the first time. I don't know if she was completely there physically or not, but
that
at
really
least in this episode she wasn't.
Yeah, and that actually really answers when we were questioning how the heck does Agent, why am I blanking on her name?
Sharp.
Agent Sharp reach in and pull her when she's in time somewhere else, or whether, like, how, because remember, we were just racking our brains. How could she possibly know where she is to reach her? Well, it's because Sarah's body actually never leaves. It's just her mind that gets sent into the spirit world. So if you go back to that episode, Sara probably mentally disappeared, and she was just probably standing there like a mannequin, and Ava's like probably reaching for her and shaking her like, come with me, and that's what brought her back.
Yeah, I don't know, something like that. That still doesn't change the fact that we did see like a little portal on a side view. But... yeah,
I guess that's true, but maybe that's just reaching into her mind. Her mind is locked up. She's in this other space. I mean, it doesn't fully explain it. Like, how does Agent Sharp know? Yeah, but at least it physically answers it for us that Sara actually never went anywhere.
Yeah, it does. I did find it interesting, just to kind of walk away from this particular storyline for just 1 minute, that when no one else knew what to do, because like Ray walks in and says that he can't get in touch with Sara, so like Mick taking over was like the best scene ever.
I think that was the best scene of the episode. Yeah.
I just love it. I mean, all in the name of watching football, he just literally tells them all off. It was so great.
It was so funny. Yeah, that's all he wanted, and people kept interrupting him, and he's getting more angry and more frustrated, and nobody seems to know what they're doing. It's like trying to run a daycare of misfit children, and he's just like, enough.
Yep.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. Get out of my hair. Yeah,
I don't quite have my Mick voice with me tonight, so otherwise I would do it. But it was great such a great scene. I mean, Mick didn't really have much to do with this episode, but the scenes that he was in was to deliver some fantastic line that only Mick could deliver, and it was awesome.
I know, it's great. Oh, Mick, I love Mick.
But
okay.
A little point I'll just throw in there. The football that he was watching, it was actually a Canadian Football League game, Argonauts versus the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And
that's funny.
It was hilarious because at any time the TV was in the background, you could totally see it was the Toronto Argonauts. You could see the symbols, you could see everything. But at any time they showed an up close version of the game, you could all the team logos were blanked out. So I thought it was pretty funny.
Oh, that's funny.
But because I'm thinking the CFL, it's much cheaper to buy rights to show a couple seconds of footage from their games than it is to buy the NFL or anything like that. So
I know.
I find that happens a lot.
I know. Well, I didn't really recognize it. So I was like, is this like a college game or like what are they showing? Like, I couldn't figure it out. That's hilarious.
So yeah, just a funny side note. All right, what's next?
All right. Okay. So there's a couple different things that just all of these scenes with Sarah. Oh man, especially once we realize that Mallus is like getting in her head, and the scenes with her walking down the hallway. Oh, it's so creepy. It's so good.
When whatever the wall stretched out to grab her.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that was some jump worthy stuff.
Oh yeah, I loved that. And so I noticed that all during this, and I didn't get a chance to go back and do like literally frame by frame, but I paused it in a couple key places, and all of the flashbacks that Sarah was having was back to like Constantine resurrecting her and her coming out of the Lazarus pit and her being killed and falling off the building, all from Arrow.
Very, very cool.
I just thought that was such a cool touch. Like that goes back to what you were saying earlier about how they're weaving everything in, especially since she was an Arrow character. Like her backstory is Arrow. So I loved that.
Yeah, no, as well. And I mean, those things went by so fast. If you knew Arrow, you kind of recognized them. But yeah, it's good. It's a cool thing to go frame by frame and take a look at and see the history there.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I kind of like was starting to pause them, because I noticed one of the scenes was like when it quickly flashes is her falling off the building after she's killed. And I was like, oh, I bet these are all from Arrow. So I was pausing to look, but
yeah. Well, and I wonder how I'm actually curious how many of our Legends viewers and listeners don't know about her history on Arrow, never watched Arrow, never saw that.
I don't know, but that was kind of key to this whole episode.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if anyone really is curious, you can contact us and we'll dive into a few deeper details if you want. But I mean, the nutshell version of it is that Sarah was Black Canary on Arrow, and she on a rooftop she got shot with some arrows and fell off the side of the building and was dead. And then they revived her.
For a while.
Yeah, for quite a while. And then her sister dug up her body, drug it out to, what was the...
Nanda Parbat.
Yeah, Nanda Parbat, where the Lazarus pit is that revives people. And she dunked her in there and brought her back to life. And then she had this bloodlust and couldn't control it, didn't know who she was. And that's when they called in Constantine. And Constantine came and helped exorcise her demons, because being revived from the Lazarus pit means using dark demonic magic to do so, and it really messes people up. So they needed his help, and that's brings us kind of full circle to here.
Yeah, that's it in a nutshell, and kind of leads straight into this next point that I wanted to talk about, because Constantine gives her a card, and this particular card has a white bird and a black bird, which I thought was very interesting. I don't know if they were really canaries or not, but I thought maybe that was kind of like symbolizing her struggle, because, you know, she was Black Canary, and that was kind of like her darker side, where she was out for vengeance and she was working for the League of Assassins, and she just was on a really dark path. And then she was reborn and became the White Canary. And so now she's on a better path, and she's kind of fighting for good and trying to preserve the timeline and all these sorts of things. So
yeah, I totally as soon as I saw it, that's the canaries, and the way they were shaped on the card, it was a very yin yang symbol, but just with the canaries. So yeah, I really like it. It was a neat little touch and a neat little connection point between those two characters, because he's been there for her during her dark times and now her better times. So yeah, I liked it a lot.
I did too. I thought it was a really cool touch, and I don't know if we'll get to see it again, but it would be neat if that came back later in the season.
Yeah. All right, what's up next?
All right. Well, I mean, just the last little note here is about her going back to the spirit world, because obviously she's got to go back in so that she can channel Mallus's energy and get them all back to 2017, because as they remind us, they can't communicate across time without Stein's handy dandy special equipment or whatever.
Yeah.
So she willingly goes back into the spirit world and actually ends up speaking with Nora. So I thought that was pretty cool, because she had to kind of go in and basically convince her to fight her own darkness. And as she was doing that, the ironic part is that Mallus, Nora, is about to kill Zari. So it's kind of good timing.
And a whole bunch of people in the coffee shop.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll definitely get to that scene a little bit later. But that whole sequence was pretty amazing stuff. But what it got me to thinking is, Mallus is pretty powerful, because he is possessing two people at two separate times in two different locations, and doesn't seem to be having an issue with that at all.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting, and I'm curious as to how many people, or like how much he can kind of split his focus, I guess, for lack of a better way to put that. Because in the end, Nora ends up kind of winning out over Mallus, and then I presume he goes back to the spirit world, and then Sara continues to channel the energy and draw the runes so that they can make it back to 2017.
Yeah.
But
hard to say how that.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of it. I'm sure he's probably has a stronger connection to Sara now, so there might be points where he takes her over, which we kind of got hint of at the end of the episode that we'll get to, but, Constantine kind of gave a bit of warning. Watch out, Sarah's not going to be herself as time passes, so I'm sure this will get explained a little bit deeper for us as we get on.
Yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting second half of the season, knowing that that's kind of looming over us. Well, that's kind of it for that storyline, aside from the scenes in the coffee shop, which we can roll into in a minute. Is there anything else that we kind of didn't touch on in this kind of like main storyline that you wanted to bring up before we move on?
I think you kind of covered most of that. Yeah, just in directly dealing with Nora and what's going on around here. Yeah, I think we can move on for sure.
Move on? Cool. Okay. All right. So this next part is where the name of the episode comes from, Daddy Darhkest. I have known the name of this episode for months now, and I must admit, even knowing the name of the episode, honestly had no idea what to expect.
Right.
But this it did not disappoint. So one of the first things that we see is Ray and Zari, first of all, have gone to the asylum because they're trying to figure out what happened to their missing teammates. And they end up bringing Nora to the Star City Jitters, which I thought was kind of hilarious and ill-advised. But apparently Jitters is a franchise, so I thought that was funny.
Well, I mean, you could tell the location was the same one they've used for all the filming sets, but was that actually the one that we know that we've seen all the time? No, because that's usually in Central City, the one that we see all the time. So,
yeah. So they tweeted out because a lot of people were saying, wait, I thought they were in Star City, and they were still in Star City.
Yes.
It's the Star City Jitters, but obviously it's the same set. You could tell they tried to do a little bit different with some of like the coloring of certain things. They tried to make it a little different than the Central City version, but it's obviously the same set.
Yeah,
so.
And there's a lot more tables and chairs too. So
Exactly.
Yeah, whatever, that's fine. I mean, yeah, like you said, it's a franchise, so they're all going to roughly look the same. And
Yeah,
that's okay.
exactly. So I thought that was pretty funny. But anyway, so things are actually going pretty good until a very unfortunate news clip happens to hit the TV. And I just really felt so bad for her. I mean, this version of Nora is young. She doesn't understand what's happening to her. She's scared. She's sad. Her parents are dead. I mean, she's very broken and she's very alone. And obviously, that makes her an incredibly easy target. So all it took was the mention of Oliver being, being indicted or being on trial or whatever it is is happening with him for killing her father. It kind of pushed her back over the edge. Led to some great, super creepy scenes.
Yeah, well, it, like you said, and I think this lends to the fact that the more he possesses her, the easier it is to take over, and she's getting lost in. So that seemed to happen real quick. But that sequence when she's across the table from Zari and Ray, and they're arguing with her, and she just starts slamming her head on the table, and they do in that weird high-speed frame rate, and just again, right out of horror movie stuff, just creepy. Oh my god! And it was so fun. I have Patty Spivot beside me, and she's covering her face with a blanket because this is freaking her out. She doesn't like that stuff, and I was just like, oh my god, okay, this is not a kid's episode this time around.
No, that part was kind of brutal. I was like, ooh, man, it was good, but brutal.
Yeah, because what he's like, she doesn't feel anything anymore, and wham, 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 wham. It's like, holy, okay. And she was bleeding like black out of her lips. It wasn't really blood; it was almost black coming out of her, her lips. So, yeah. Nope. Well done, creepy stuff.
Super well done. So all throughout these scenes, we get a lot of dialogue. You got poor Ray and Zari. They're doing their best to bring Nora back, to kind of like coax her back out, but there's nothing kind of happening there. It's all Mallus, and she can't break in until obviously we see on the spirit side that Sarah convinces her to come back in the nick of time. But just before that happens, something super interesting happens.
Yeah, this when Zari grabs her arm and actually kind of burns her.
I know. I was not expecting that, and two, she said she calls her one of the six, and this is the second time Nora has mentioned the six in this episode.
Yeah. And of course, right away we jump to it being the totems or the totem bearers. And we only know of 5 of them. We have earth, wind, water, and fire, and the animal spirit one. So is there a 6th totem? Is there one, like these are the 5 lesser totems, and there's one kind of stronger, more powerful totem that's kind of in control or in charge of the other ones? Or is there's the 6th one we don't know, like the totem of love or the totem of death or the totem of whatever it could be? Nobody seems to know about it.
Exactly. So speculation aside, I'm guessing number 6 is being made up specifically for the episode. So I don't think we're going to find an answer. But I find it very fascinating, and I really want to know what they're going to do with it.
Well, another angle I was thinking, we jumped to the conclusion it's the totems, but what if it's the totem bearers, the people? There might only be 5 totems, but maybe there's 6 people that are able to wield them.
There are Mari. Okay. There's technically 2 spirit totems out there. Well, it's the same spirit totem, but anyway, let's not make our heads explode. Amaya and Mari.
Yeah, I mean that's they would be they're using the same totem, so I don't know if you want to mix in time depending on what time period they're in, because Amaya's out of her time period right now, but I would assume that that's still the same totem. but still.
It is, yeah.
There could
Well,
be
but you were
six-
saying there wasn't a sixth totem, but just a sixth
a
person.
sixth person, like maybe because it only specific people can wield these totems, so maybe there's 6 people, and that's why there's always a battle for them, because there's only 5 totems to go around, but 6 people are able to wield them. It's kind of the angle I was looking at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Or if you kind of think of, say, Marvel's Gauntlet with the stones in all the Avengers and movies right now, how he's trying to Thanos is trying to collect all the gems to make the one powerful gauntlet. Well, maybe this is the same kind of thing. You get all 5 totems together, there's a 6th person, an ultimate being that can wield all of them at the same time.
Yeah, that thought did cross my mind, that this was kind of their version of the Infinity Stones.
Thank you, Infinity Stones, yeah.
Let's kind of go back, because this is the point where Damien Darhk returns.
Mm-hmm.
And this was incredibly interesting and fascinating. He basically, I think I have a typo here, but basically, like, he tells his daughter to basically, like, go back into the custody of her psychiatrist. And so apparently her psychiatrist is a member of the order, quote unquote. I can't remember what the full name of it is.
That's all
but
they said was the order in this episode, yeah.
Yeah, this goes back to that Blood Moon episode that you did not enjoy, where we saw like Stein's great grandfather or whatever he was. Yeah. So that it's ultimately that order that's going to bring him back to life in a completely different time period with a future version of his daughter. So we are making all sorts of crazy jumps in and around time, but basically Darhk, I mean, he's got to step in because he can't let the legends interfere. Otherwise, I don't know if he'll disappear or what will happen, but he'll never have been resurrected if Nora never allows Mallus to fully gain control and embrace the power.
It is so hard for me to wrap my head around that, because I thought Darhk was resurrected in that episode where he basically rises into the sky, you know, in that old village. I thought that was his resurrection point, because they were trying to stop it at that point and they failed, and he was fully brought to life. I thought he was alive. So this little tidbit of information when she says, oh yeah, we need to fully bring him back to life, and we need you, Nora, to allow Mallus to fully possess you. I was spinning at that point going, what? How is it? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, here's the deal with that. It's the issue, if you will, is that this is the, what did we determine, 14-year-old, 13-year-old version of his daughter, who has not yet been fully possessed, I guess, if you will. She has not fully given in to Mallus's power. She has not fully been brought into the future version of the order, because the Nora that we've been battling all season is at least 10 years the senior of the Nora we met today.
Right.
So if this moment never happens, she never grows up to go back in time to bring Damien Darhk back to life.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that includes a few time jumps. So yeah, and that's what's so, I mean, that's what made this episode so amazing, is the fact that they were able to write this and it actually makes sense. The interweaving of the timelines that we've already visited to get to this point, even though this point is happening before and after other points we've seen, it still all works. It still is all connected. And I guess the question I have out of that is because the adult version of Nora that we have seen more of, she has abilities and powers. Now, is that granted to her by Mallus? Or is it because her dad Damien has dark powers, but he needs totems to be able to, well, I guess he doesn't anymore. He used to, but yeah, I'm still a little bit
yeah, no, it's definitely all Mallus. Well, let's just jump for a minute here down, and let's talk about Kuasa, because I think this may I don't know if it'll help a little bit more, but it's just another point of the episode
Mm-hmm.
where they're trying to use this concept, because she appears in the asylum in the very beginning of this episode, and she says she is there to, quote, protect the moment she became his. So the first time I watched this, I had no idea what she was talking about.
Okay.
But by the second time around, I was like, oh, I get it now. So, like, what we know is that the she refers to is Nora Darhk. And Constantine and the Legends are clearly interfering with this moment, because this is the moment when Mallus finally breaks in and begins to take her over. And she's moved into this facility where the doctor of the order can watch over her and further manipulate her and have her embrace Mallus's powers, whether it's willingly or not. So, I mean, the whole thing, if this never happens, then Kuasa and Darhk were never resurrected. And basically everything that's happened this season never happens. My mind was blown.
Yeah.
Yes. This is why I love this show.
Now bring it back just a little bit here. Kuasa, why was she resurrected at this? Like, she was resurrected to work with Darhk?
Yeah, well, she was
trying to
brought back at the end of the premiere.
Yeah.
By Nora.
By Nora, that's right. She was that's what we figured out. She was the cloaked figure at the edge of the lake that brought her back. Right.
Yes. So if Nora, the young version of Nora, if the Legends interfere or Constantine interferes and Mallus never takes over, then none of that ever happens, which means the entire first half of our season never happens.
Yeah. Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Good job, writers, for weaving that. That they've been working on something behind the scenes. Holy cow.
Yeah, that was one serious payoff.
Wow.
It was crazy.
Way to go. All right. Whew.
Anyway, while we're talking about Kuasa, let's just finish her off real quick before we get into the other little things.
She got frozen.
I been waiting for them to do this all season.
Well, yeah. How else are you going to stop her? Like, use the freeze gun and turn her to ice. She's water. Come on. Yeah, it was great. It was awesome to see.
I know. I was like, that's the only way they're going to be able to stop her. Why has no one put 2 and 2 together? And then of course Leo ends up leaving at the end anyway. So there goes our cold gun.
There goes the cold gun.
Yeah. True.
But it was a cool scene. It was neat to see her on ice for a little bit, and then, they decided to keep her on the ship in kind of a stasis for a little bit, which is cool. At least she can't, cause you trouble anymore. But Amaya decides that she doesn't like that necessarily and wants to have this talk with her.
It's a terrible idea, really.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I've got a question for you. She is learning an awful lot about her past, including at this point, she learns not only when, but how she dies.
Well, it's not so much her past, it's her future.
Or her future, sorry. Kuasa's past, her future. Yeah, you know what I mean.
I knew what you meant, but just to clarify, I know. She's I mean, she did say, I don't want to know this, and Kuasa just keeps spilling it to her. I'm like, what is your end game there? Why are you, the thing with Kuasa is she doesn't seem to care about anything or anyone, no rules, no people's feelings or their, what they should and shouldn't know. She doesn't give a damn.
Yes and no, though, because they sort of in this episode and in these scenes, they sort of kind of painted her in the light of that she was trying to save Amaya and save her village and her family. Because the point when Amaya dies in Amaya's future, Kuasa's past, that's when Kuasa's life basically goes to hell in a handbasket.
Okay,
so I don't know if this is her manipulating. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still for her own personal gain, It's like her trying to rewrite her past. But I feel like this is going to unless someone wipes her mind, this is going to have an awful lot of repercussions.
Amaya, you're talking about.
Amaya, yeah, unless someone wipes Amaya's mind, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. And I mean, we're still kind of struggling with that. Like, she is not in her timeline. She is in the future, and she's gaining all of this future knowledge about not even just her own life, everybody's life, future technology, everything. She can't go back to her timeline with all of that knowledge.
I know. That's why.
Yeah.
There's no way, because unless she ends up being as noble as Stein was, who also knows the
That's
date
true.
of his death, if you will, and still dies.
Yeah, that's true.
So I don't know. It's very confusing. It's kind of, I mean, it's following the theme of everybody kind of like crossing and recrossing paths of themselves and influencing their own childhood. It's enough to make your mind explode.
Yeah. Well, I got a little bit more about Kuasa in a later section, so let's move away from her from now and jump into. I mean, we had some good scenes with Ray this time around, and I think we were both quite satisfied with what they were doing with them. So I'll let you kick it off because you're pretty excited here.
I am. They finally brought back our inventor.
Yeah, they did.
I'm still really sad and annoyed that had to be at the cost of losing Martin Stein's character, even though I know regardless we were losing Victor Garber anyway. Mm-hmm. But still, it was really nice to actually see Ray doing something other than just broing out with Nate, which I like, don't get me wrong, but he has a brain. Let's use it, guys.
Well, yeah. I mean, look at all the things he did when he was on Arrow. Like all the running his own company and the crazy inventions and using his mind and his money. Yeah, mm-hmm. It's a part of him that we've missed, and it's great to see it starting to come back into the fold here. He's working on a nanite pistol that will effectively kind of combine the heat and cold gun's abilities into one shot.
Now that is super cool.
Yeah, because they realize that that's one of the only things that affected Damien Darhk.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
yeah, they gotta cross the streams.
Yeah. So
they're still missing that Ghostbusters reference. I want it.
I swear they may have said it once, but maybe not crossing the streams.
Maybe not. I don't know.
But anyway, so it was cool. So that he's working on that side, and then we've got Zari beside him, and she's doing some programming, which is also cool because that ties into the little bit we found out about her when she got introduced to us.
Absolutely,
she's a bit of a tech head herself.
She is. She's a hacker. She's great with computers. Let's put that to good use. You have someone who's familiar not only with the future, but future technology. Mm-hmm. And she's intimately familiar with it. So I was very pleasantly surprised to, one, see Ray using his brain, and two, to see Zari using her brain and her skills instead of just trying to say, oh, I'm going to go back and change time because this isn't right and I don't care, so we're just going to change time anyway. You know, that sort of stuff.
Although I did find this episode, she was still being very against the rules. She was not wanting to follow the rules. She was still being her, I'm going to do this because I think this is the right way or the better way or whatever. So she still kind of got that going on. I wonder if they're going to continue to drag that out, if she's going to have a hard lesson to learn, or if someone's going to teach her to smarten up.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, her episode is coming up next week, I believe. So I'm really hoping we get more on her backstory.
Yeah.
Another little tidbit that she dropped in this episode when she was talking to Nora in the asylum was that she also spent some time in some sort of psychiatric ward. And I want to know why.
Okay, do you think she actually meant that? I was questioning it. Did she really mean that as a way to connect with Nora, or was she just using that as a way to connect with Nora by, helping Nora feel comfortable that, here's someone that understands the experience she's going through?
I personally felt like she was being genuine and that it was a real story.
Okay.
You thought I'm guessing you felt the other way.
I thought it was just a ploy, a tactic to kind of get Nora to be more comfortable with her. I don't know. That's what I'm waiting to find out, I guess.
I know, yeah. If it wasn't, I would love to know. I really just in general want to know more about her backstory. I mean, we got a good taste of it when we picked her up from 2049 in the first place, but now I'm kind of really curious as to what some more detail on that is, not just on like her losing her family, but just like on her in general.
Yeah, I want to know a lot more about her. Let's get some backstory on her so we can actually start to connect to her a little more. I mean, we all like her, so let's start to get some depth to her so we can, really start to enjoy her being part of the team, because it seems she's sticking around.
Yeah, exactly. And I like her character. I'm enjoying her. I like her snark. I'm not totally sold on obviously her constant disregard for the time travel rules, but I'm hoping that that's just them, her character having to get used to that fact. I think that's a hard pill to swallow. So.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to see. All right, let's move on to something that we knew was coming, and I didn't expect it to be in this episode, and especially the way the episode was going. I was
either.
Quite enjoying his role in this episode. We're talking about our Leonard Snart. He was really a big part of this episode. It was him and Sara and Constantine throughout. He had great lines. He had great everything. I did not expect this to be his farewell episode, and we'll talk a little bit more about the actual goodbye, I believe, in
Oh, we can talk about it all here. I mean, spoiler alert, we're gonna play it, but
yeah, I guess. But I think this. If I was disappointed in something, it was this part of the episode and the way they wrote him out. Because we were speculating, are they going to kill him off? Or is he going to have a great big heroic moment? Or is he going to, we were expecting something major, something big. And if you really step back and look at it, this was kind of a bit of a lackluster way to say goodbye to a character that's so beloved.
Oh, yeah. But that's I thought that that's where they were going with it. I think I was the only one that was saying, I don't think they're going to give him a big to-do. It's not going to be a big thing where they kill him off again, because he's already had that. He's already had his moment. Finally, a character gets a happy ending.
And I do agree with you there, but at the same time, since he's come back, they haven't done much with him to really build up a farewell where, yes, we all hate to see him go. We don't want to say goodbye. We love him so much, but they didn't build up the emotion of him being back to get us to the point where it's going to hurt so bad to say goodbye again, even though it's a happy ending goodbye. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see what you're saying. We haven't had enough time with the character.
No.
Yeah, I agree. I was not expecting it to happen in this episode. I thought we had another couple to go, to be honest.
Well, yeah, and I mean, this is part of my nitpick coming up. I mean, there was enough going on this episode that they didn't need to do that in this one. And I don't know. I think I wanted a little bit more. I mean, it was great. Since season 1, he had a close connection to Sara, so it was great that him and her got to say goodbye. And of course, him and Mick being the big duo since Flash, of course you want a good goodbye with them. And I do love how it was written. I mean, they got to say a few nice things to each other. They kind of hugged it out, and there was a little bit left. Mick got to say, see you around, and I mean, I doubt we're ever going to see Snart again, but it was a nice way to say that behind the scenes, behind everything we get to see as viewers, they still might keep in touch.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah, they might. I don't know.
But
who knows?
It was an unexpected send off.
Yeah, I was not expecting it in this episode. I mean, obviously we were expecting it in this back half of the season, but I am a little bit surprised that it already happened. But I loved the goodbye scene. I thought I was glad they finally got one.
Yeah, well, that was the touching part of it, is that Mick never got to say goodbye to him, and we saw Mick struggling with thinking he was seeing ghosts of him and going through a bit of a mental phase with that. And then when Snart did come back and he's completely changed and opposite, Mick was really happy, but then suddenly let down and hurt by it, and he's been struggling with those feelings. So now that he's getting to say goodbye to his friend, Mick did not want to lose that opportunity to actually say goodbye and tell him that how much he does kind of mean to him, and even called him Leo, and it was
he did. It was sweet.
Yeah, that's a great scene. Just the timing of it, I question, and I guess I wanted more time with Snart to build up the emotion to prepare for a goodbye and have it, I guess, hit a little harder. Maybe that's the problem I'm having with it. It didn't have as much emotional, thump to the gut that I was expecting.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of glad that it didn't. I was glad that it was understated, but that there was closure there. But I was not expecting it to happen this episode, so that was quick. But all right, well, do you want to go to our final little topic here? There's a couple scenes that we need to address.
Yes, that is true. One last little thing.
Hashtag Avalance.
Avalance. I kind of like that.
That's what they're calling them. That's their ship. It's Avalance.
Avalance. That's pretty cool. All right, what do you got to say about that, other than me taking full credit for seeing it from the very beginning? But yeah, we already.
I am still blown away that you put that together that early on. I literally thought you were nuts. I was like, no, that's not where they're going with it. Yeah, I was totally wrong.
Totally. I mean, and this episode was full on. When she's contacting her for no reason really, and Leo witnesses it, and he's like, yeah, head down, eyes up, flicking her hair. Yeah, she's totally, flirting with you. She's crushing.
Absolutely. Yeah. It cracked me up that Leo was the one that had to point it out, and then Gideon plays it back. It's like, that's fantastic.
Even Gideon was picking on Sarah about it. She's like, would you like some privacy? You got an incoming message. And because even Sarah's like, snarky computer.
Oh, I know. I think, what does she call her? She takes a line from Constantine. I think she calls her a cheeky bot or something cheeky like bot. That.
Yeah, that's what the line was. But yeah, exactly. So, yep.
Oh man, that was funny.
All around her. But, and even in mixed in with these scenes, when Constantine first shows up on the ship, is he really flirting and hitting on Snart?
Yes, he is. Constantine's bisexual as well.
See, I didn't know that, and that kind of threw me for a second there. I'm like, what's going on? And I mean, it was a hilarious scene because Mick's so uncomfortable, but I didn't know that about Constantine, so...
Yes, and here's the funny thing about that is, because I know you try and avoid a lot of the promotional stuff, but they were really playing it up that Constantine hits on Leo. And they're like really playing up that angle. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you have Constantine and Sarah that are the ones that end up hooking up. So, yeah. Which I thought that was very funny.
And it was a fun scene because we actually haven't seen Sarah do that for a while.
Nope.
And we actually haven't seen her be with a guy for a while. So that was nope. Surprising and shocking all at the same time. But, just fun. I mean, it leads to one of the greatest moments, which we will get to shortly.
It does. Shall we talk about the final little tidbit of information we learned this week?
Yeah. Rip Hunter has escaped. What? Again? Are we surprised? Of course not.
Nope.
But what do we think of that? What are we going to do with that information? What does that mean? Does that mean Sharp is going to be off on a mission trying to capture him now? Is he going to show up on our show again and on our ship? Like, what's happening with that? What do you feel about that?
Well, first and foremost, we know he's after Mallus. We also know that he can't handle Mallus unless he's got some serious tricks up his sleeve.
Right.
So I don't know if it's one of those things where he goes off the rails and the Legends and the Time Bureau have to band together and kind of like rescue him, or if Agent Sharp is maybe going to kind of throw in with the Legends and they're going to track Rip down before the Time Bureau can. Not really sure where they're going with this, but I feel like he's kind of the key of how all of these storylines are going to converge, if you will.
Why do you remember the reason why Rip was after Mallus? I don't
In the
remember
first
the original.
place.
Or did we never really truly get an answer as to why he's after Mallus, other than it's a dark force that you guys can't handle?
Yeah, I don't think we ever truly got an answer. We just know that he believed in Mallus and that he was a very powerful being, and I don't know if he knew quite to the extent that that Mallus was a demon, or maybe is Mallus truly a demon? It's very confusing about how they're kind of trying to like paint Mallus. Like I definitely felt like they tried to paint him as a demon in this episode so that it fit the whole Constantine vibe. Mm-hmm. But throughout our entire season, I didn't really get that vibe at all. Mm-hmm. I just got that he was some sort of being that might be trapped somewhere, I guess, in the spirit world, and he utilizes the dark arts.
Interesting. Okay.
So I don't know. I'm not sure that we know the extent of Rip's knowledge, and to my remembering, I don't think we got a big answer on that.
No.
He just wanted to keep it from the Legends because he didn't think we could handle it.
Yeah. So we're thinking he's going to be included in the wrap up of this whole Mallus storyline somehow.
Somehow, I think so. He has to be.
Huh. Interesting. Okay. We'll see what they do with it. I mean, you know where we stand, or at least where I stand on it. Like, I'm totally fine without him being around at all, so...
They've not done much with him this season, so I'm kind of just take him or leave him. I mean, I've always liked the Rip Hunter character, despite the fact that he was a terrible leader and yada, yada, yada. He kind of redeemed himself a little bit, but I don't really know where they're kind of going with him this season. I don't know if he had prior engagements, and so that's why he's only in a couple episodes, or what was really the background there. But
yeah. All right. Well, let's move on to our featured sections. We got still quite a bit to cover since we've been gone for so long. We got lots to talk about, and let's move into our nitpicks.
Form of water.
What you got for us, if anything?
Yeah, I rated this one a very high, so I guess it's probably no surprise. I don't really have a true nitpick. I mean, if I'm gonna have to pick something, I would say that I absolutely had to watch this episode twice, just to pick up all the nuances. It was very well written, very well layered, and I did not get all of the little things until the second watch, and I'm still not even sure I got them all then. Mm-hmm. But so I just wanted to say kudos to the writer's room. It was a great episode, and it was definitely a blink and you might miss it kind of episode. So
right.
Well done. What about you? You also rated it high.
Yeah, and I was pretty pleased. The show came back so strong after the debacle of the mid-season finale, so it was hard for me to find a nitpick. But there was one thing bugging me, and we kind of touched on a little bit. I didn't really give any hints as to what was bugging me, but I don't think this was the right place for the Kuasa story to be. I don't think this episode needed it. There was so much going on already. I just felt she didn't fit in. It was too much of an atmosphere switch from her scenes to the dark arts stuff with Constantine. Even though they were trying to connect it with, her and Amaya and the totems and all that, I still felt her scenes were too different, and I would like to have had more Constantine, Snart, Sarah stuff going on. But what bugged me the most was one particular scene with her when Amaya went in and unfroze her and was trying to talk to her, and Nate comes to try to rescue her, and he's got the cold gun. He steals up when she sends him flying across the room, and then he's still in steel form, and she smacks him and sends him flying across the room. And I'm just like, there's no way. She wasn't even water. It was just the regular human body when she hit him. So first off, she would have broken her hand or arm, whatever it was she hit him with. Second, we deduce that when he is steeled up, he gains a lot of mass or weight or density. So he's way too heavy to send him flying across the room just by a smack on the back of the hand or whatever it was she did. That looked like a backhand smack to me. So that
I thought her hand was water at that point for some reason, but maybe not.
I don't even still. I mean, come on, he's steel. I don't think her water could. Anyway, that it just didn't play off right to me. But then she grabs him while he is steel and starts doing her water torture thing. So why did he change back to human form when she grabs him? Why would he? I don't know, because he was steel on the ground when she gets down on one knee and grabs him to put him in a headlock. And then the next scene we see, he's human form and she's doing the water torture up his nose. So why did he change back? He's protected when he's in steel form, and it's not like he was knocked out or anything. So that whole sequence kind of bugged me and confused me, and it didn't play off well.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely a confusing sequence because it all happened so fast, and there was a lot of special effects, so it was hard to see when it was happening and what was happening because it was the cuts were interspersed with other things. Yeah. And so like you said, it wasn't seamless. Like you said, in one scene he was steel, and then the next scene you come back and he's not steel. So what's the deal? Like, why did he switch back? So yeah, no, I think that's a valid nitpick.
A valid nitpick. All right. I mean, it just plays into that I wasn't too pleased with the Kuasa scenes anyway. So yeah.
Yeah,
I had to really pick out of that, and that's pretty much what knocked it down a point from a 10 for me. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. All right, moving into quotes of the week, and we've been waiting for these. Yeah.
Yay!
Shape out and
Okay. That was weird.
Extra special quote of the week.
Extra.
By the way, we're just ending our show right here.
Oh man, did this episode have lots to pick from. Whether you were looking at serious scenes or funny quotes, tough to pick from. And I think we decided to go with 5 for each since we've been gone for a while and there's just too much good stuff.
That is very true. Plus, we played our winning quotes in our last episode. So
we got none to play this time.
I know. So we needed an extra one. We still have 5 quotes.
All right. Good. What are you kicking us off with for our comeback episode?
The first quote is, "They all look the same to Mick."
Blimey. Ooh, this is one hell of a jam jar you got here.
I thought we gave the Englishman to the time pigs.
That was Rip. This is John Constantine.
Skinny Brit in a trench coat. Same thing.
Oh, Mick was full of them this episode.
He certainly was. He certainly was.
All right, number 2.
Another Mick quote called Orientation.
What's your story then, handsome?
I'm from another Earth, and I'm spoken for.
Yeah, his girlfriend's a guy. Anyway, this is too much for me. I want to watch TV.
Poor Mick. He can't handle it.
He can't handle any of that stuff. Yep.
No.
All right, what's the third one?
Accuracy matters.
Z, would you please tell her talking to Kuasa is a bad idea?
No, thank you. I refuse to accept that my granddaughter is pure evil.
Fine. She's 89% evil.
I had to get some Nate snark in there. He didn't have a lot to do this episode.
No,
so.
he didn't either, but he just delivered that so perfectly. That just makes me chuckle.
Oh, it was great.
All right. And number 4 is...
Cold seduction.
You said I was strong enough to hold Mallus off.
Yeah, well, I was trying to seduce you.
Oh, please, I was seducing you.
I hope no one was trying to seduce anyone while I was about to be lobotomized.
You know, this is why I like to work alone.
We alluded to that earlier, but yeah, I think Start had some great stuff in this episode too.
Oh, he did. You know, I had to get all my favorites in. I had Mick, Snart, and Nate.
Totally. Yeah, the 3 best ones. And I mean, Snart, come on, he used to have all the best ones in season 1, so it's been a while since we get to include something from him in here.
I know. I'm gonna miss it.
I know. It was so good to hear his voice and his candor and the way he delivers his lines. That's...
Yeah.
I'm glad we had a lot of them in this one. All right. The last one, which I think is potentially my favorite one, but it's just too funny to not have in here. What's this one?
The aptly named management potential.
Guys, I think Sarah is in trouble.
Quiet! Haircut. Take the new girl. Fine blondie. Fake snart and trench coat. Amaya, the med bay. Pretty, the library. Water bitch stays in the freezer.
You know, Mick, you're really showing some management potential.
Get out.
I can't stop. Fake Snart. I think my favorite parts were fake Snart and water bitch. Keep her frozen.
I know. I love it. Everyone has their nicknames. He says what? Fine blondie, fake Snart, and trench coat.
Oh my god. Yeah. That could be the runaway winner. I don't know. That was just priceless.
Oh god, it's so funny. All right, well, let's kind of switch gears a little bit. What do you have for our scenes of the week?
Yeah, I had to find some. I trimmed it down. I think I had a couple more than this, but I trimmed it down to ones that I thought gives us something to talk about. So the first one is called Time Stone.
Incoming message from Mr. Mars.
What's it mean?
It's an ancient runic symbol used by practitioners of the dark arts for temporal manipulation.
Oh no. Guys, I think Sarah and Co got sucked into the timeline. Gideon and I are going to do some research to figure out where they're going to get spit out.
Yeah, so the obvious reason I picked that one is because that's where we found out exactly what the Time Stone is, answering our questions. So Gideon, thank you for giving us that information.
I know, yeah. Like I said, it's one of those 30-second exposition things where they literally take 30 seconds and answer the questions that we've been throwing about for months now. So,
yeah, and then the other part of that was it just kind of touches on what usually happens. Like, okay, someone's gone back in time while our team on the Waverider is still in the future. So Nate has to go to the history books and work with Gideon to find out, okay, what's going to change, what's going to happen, so they can locate where they are in history. And I think that's just cool. I really like that aspect of it, that Nate immediately knew what he had to do to start looking for, clues as to where they went.
Yeah, I agree. I love his role as kind of like the time detective, I like it. It's very cool.
Totally.
All right. What is your second quote? Or scene, sorry.
That's okay. It is called Canary Almost Cried.
They can't reach you. Only I can.
Sarah? Nora? Help me, Sarah.
Nora? Is that you?
Please. Oh.
Captain Lance! What is it? There's nothing there.
It's Mallus.
Well, I told you there'll be repercussions for going to the dark side. It leaves a trace. And now that he sniffed you out, he wants to use you too. You can't let him break you.
We gotta get out of here.
Guard. The pain thing.
I'll put a message behind it.
I'll see to it and come and find you.
All right.
You gotta help me. He's coming for me.
Come on.
Okay, any guesses as to why I included that one?
Aside from the fact that it was a great scene?
It's a great scene, but let me ask you this. How many times in the course of Arrow and Legends have we seen our Sara Lance scared?
Now that's a fair point. I didn't really think about that.
Like,
we haven't.
Yeah. So that is why this scene I took quite seriously. In fact, we can thank Patty Spivot for this one because she's the one that pointed out saying, oh my God, we never see her scared and she looks frightened. So that was a turning point. Well, not a turning point. It was just a very revealing aspect of how this is affecting Sara. Like this is something obviously she's kept buried. She hasn't fully dealt with the effects of the Lazarus pit, and all this stuff is coming back to her. And I think it's got her on edge and just, totally freaked out herself.
Yeah, definitely.
So there you go.
All right. What is your third scene?
I called it 5 Little Totems.
Hey, when Nora was possessed by Mallus, he seemed scared of my totem. He said that I was one of the 6.
And that bastard doesn't fear much. If your totem give him the frights, maybe these trinkets are the keys to stopping him.
So much for our anti-magic nanite gun.
I only know about 5 totems. There's my spirit, your air, Kuasa's water, and then there's earth and there's fire. But could there be more?
I'll do some digging. I have numerous contacts I can draw on.
Well, we kind of already talked about it during the discussion, but
we did.
Yeah. What's that 6th totem? I mean, this kind of stunned everybody, all our characters and all our viewers, so that's why that one's in here.
It did, and in case people had not figured it out, they did spell it out for us, the 5 totems, which we covered several episodes ago, but I don't think they've yet covered it in the show, so it was nice that they kind of did that for those that have not been able to do their homework.
Exactly, and it makes me wonder, Constantine says, I have some contacts, I'll dig into it. I wonder if he will come back with some info on it, or at least contact them or something.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we're not going to see him before the end of the season after all, which I kind of hope we do. They left it very open-ended, and I'm hoping that he maybe, even if it's not till the finale, that he at least comes back to help them get rid of Mallus.
Yeah, exactly.
So, all right, what is our 4th scene?
4th one is called Sidearms.
What's this about an anti-magic gun?
Oh, I was going to put it in storage.
Oh, don't. You keep it nearby.
You said so yourself, the key to stopping Mallus, the totems.
I could be. But in the meantime, you may need a more accessible solution for a more familiar target. Sarah may not know it, but the demon's power that lives inside of her. If, or more like when she succumbs to it, you're gonna need that gun.
Yeah, that is giving us a lot of... what would you say? That's a prelude to things to come.
Foreshadowing.
Foreshadowing is, yes. So
a very ominous way to kind of start ending the show. I mean, there was a couple little scenes here right at the end, and you got a lot of information dropped on you in just a few short scenes.
You know what I'm wondering?
Mm.
Just coming to me now, if there's 5 totems, and yet they're saying one of the 6, what if the 6 is Sara? Mallus, she was revived in a Lazarus pit, which gives a whole new range of, I don't know how to say it, connections to the demon world. And Mallus is tapping into that. And he is going to maybe fully possess Sara by the end of this season. And it's going to take the 5 totems to come together. They're going to have to find all 5 totems, and they're going to need all 5 of them to fight Mallus, who is in Sara's body, fully possessed. It's going to come down to saving our Captain Sara. That's going to be the end game of this season.
Ooh, now that would be an interesting twist. Going back to the totems, though, the only thing I'm curious about is in Vixen, they established that they destroyed the fire totem. Like, it is gone.
Yeah.
So I'm really curious as to how they're going to get around that.
Remember we touched on this? We've a lot of times gone by. Remember we said that what's stopping them from going back in time to before it was destroyed?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
I mean, I understand. I feel that way for sure, but they could probably just go get it from a different time period and
true.
There you go. So yeah, we'll have to see.
Oh man! All right.
So
well, what?
That's my season comeback prediction. Let's see what happens.
Season comeback prediction? Yeah, you're 1 for 1 so far. So. All right. What's your final scene?
How can I not include this as the last one? I titled it "Getting Rid of a Cold," and I'm sure you know what I mean by that. So here it is.
Just wanted to say I'm grateful. Grateful I was allowed to tag along with you in the Legends. It was an experience and an education.
Likewise.
I'm proud to know you, and this is hard. This is me saying goodbye. Take care of yourself, Nick.
You too.
You know he's still watching TV, right?
I wasn't watching TV. Just a little bit.
On that note, Captain Lance, I'm going home. I'm gonna ask Ray to marry me.
Ray?
My Ray, not your Ray.
Wow, that is a bold move.
It is. Just feels like it's time to sign up for
Different kind of adventure?
a different kind of adventure. Exactly.
Snart. I mean, Leo. See you around.
I'll see you around.
No.
Everyone bowed their heads as we bid farewell to our Captain Cold.
I know. Or I guess technically Citizen Cold, as he was called.
Yeah, Leo. Well, there you go, Legends fans. Our comeback quotes of the week. I think we got some good ones. I have no idea who can come out on top. Like those are some tough ones to pick from, but fun.
Yes, I agree.
All right, let's get into some feedback. We did get a bit of feedback. Thank you, everybody. I know it's been a while. I know we switched nights and all that kind of stuff, but nothing has changed. Our schedule's still the same. Just don't forget about us. We're back now. And you know what? We're the only show that's back for the next couple of weeks. So
that's true.
There. You can focus all your efforts on us.
Yay.
Let's get into some feedback.
Holy Twin Powers, activate!
Oh my God, we forgot to say feedback.
Feedback.
Let's kick it off with a voicemail from our friend Jeff X-Force11. Here he is.
Hello, Flash and Harley. It's Jeff, X-Force11, calling in my feedback for our return to the season. And man, I enjoyed it, but it's interesting. We got Constantine this episode, but he's going away for a while. I was kind of under the impression that he was going to be there for an episode or two, but it looks like he's going to come back later in the season to kind of save the day. Maybe he'll come back at the end of the season. That'll open up for him to stay in next season, but we'll see. I enjoyed it. I'm interested to know what the sixth totem is, and I'm interested to see where it's going to lead us. And this has just been a really good start to this back half of the season. So can't wait to hear what everybody has to say about it. X-Force11 out.
Awesome, Jeff. Thanks for calling in. Good to hear from you. Yeah, you know, I have to ask, because he talks about Constantine coming in to help out at the end of the season, which I agree with. And then he talks about him possibly sticking around to go into season 4. Now, let me ask, like, absolutely honestly, do you think Constantine could fit on this show as a permanent member? Do you think he mixes in with his team, though? The dark arts, the magic, all that, do you think it has a place on our show every episode?
Probably not. And while I like what they're doing with it, again, we've not seen Constantine until this episode, and it's the 10th episode, and we're presuming we may not see him again until the finale, which is another, 7-8 episodes away here.
Right.
So, I mean, I enjoyed the character. I loved the snark. I mean, I loved the snark. And I thought like he fit in well. He had good chemistry. All of the actors had really good chemistry together. I just don't know if that type of dark arts magic is needed in every single episode. It's like Amaya and Zari's version of magic with the totems is very different. It's very elemental. It's not demons and people being possessed and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm really enjoying what they're doing with him. I just don't know that he's got a place on the everyday unless he has some other sort of talent, I guess.
Okay, see, that's why I wanted to ask, because that's exactly what I'm feeling. Even though I agree he fit in for this episode, he had great acting chemistry with the entire cast, and this episode's story suited him. I kind of think he would be sitting in the background twiddling his thumbs on most of the episodes. If you look at all our other adventures we've ever been on, he would be actually kind of useless. There's no use for him with his skills. His skill set is a come and go kind of thing. We need him for something specific. Other than that, we don't have a use for him. That's kind of the feeling I have. So I don't think, I think he would end up being a Rip Hunter. He would be like, what's this guy on here for? Like, we don't need him. He'd end up being like the Hawk people, just like, ugh.
Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah, and I don't want them to ruin a good character, like just for the sake of fan service.
Exactly.
So
yeah, I think I'll be happy if he just comes and goes as a guest, once or twice a season. Then, it'd be great for him if the popularity of him being around gets him the chance of a new show. I know they're making an animated show for him, so that's more what I'm hoping for him. I don't think he'll fit in.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I agree.
All right. We got an email from our friend Karina Lucas, who is like apparently one of our biggest fans because she just continually supports us with the most exuberant positivity, and we love her.
She does. I love her stuff. It's always great to hear from her.
So what does she have to say?
She says, "Hey guys, I'm so glad that the legends are back because it means you are back. Yay."
See what I mean?
Yay. I'm a fan of demons, but I'm not a fan of exorcism stuff. It's kind of scary and weird, especially all that neck twisting. I hate when necks move more than they're supposed to.
Yeah, well, that was something else we didn't bring up. That was creepy, the whole head turning around. Yep. Oof.
Oh, yeah. That actress, she was phenomenal. She did a great job.
Yeah.
All right. I watched the episode just once and I was on the bus, so maybe I didn't pay a lot of attention. But why did Mallus possess Nora? Was there an explanation for why he chose her? Oh, well, I don't know. Was there an explanation for why he specifically chose her? I don't actually think that there was. Other than just we know the connection with Damien Darhk and the Order and everything because we've seen all that happen, but I don't know the original reason for Mallus choosing Nora, if you will. I don't think they said.
I'm guessing it's just got something to do with Damien Darhk and the power that he has. He's in connected to the dark arts himself, so maybe Nora was born with something that Mallus can use.
Or maybe just the only other thing that they did is they were very pointedly trying to show just how like broken and alone she was, and that makes her very vulnerable to Mallus. So it may have just been luck of the draw, and then everything that happened was just her being connected because of her being connected to him.
They did totally explain that too when they were talking about why she's in there. Her parents are both dead and she was left alone. Like these are all reasons for demonic possession because it makes their spirits weak and easy to take over.
Yeah.
They explained that, yeah.
So I think that's probably it. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Well, she continues, and Nora said that Ray and Zari helped her, so you think she'll change her mind regarding hating the legends in the future?
Yeah, she wasn't quite wanting to go with Daddy Darhk, but she kind of did, so we'll have to see if that comes around later, if she ends up going against her dad in the end to say, no, you know what, these two actually helped me, and we'll have to see. We'll have to see if it comes back.
Yeah, we'll just kind of have to see what happens with that one, I think. All right, so Sarah was a badass as usual, but I'm a little worried about the information Constantine gave Ray.
Mm-hmm.
But if she still has a demon inside her, maybe the demon will help defeat Mallus. Is it the sixth element no one knows exists? Well,
Yeah.
she's right in line with you there.
Yeah.
By the way, I loved Sarah and Ava flirting. We never saw Sarah in a vulnerable way being invested in someone. That's true. When we met Nissa, they already had a history, and any other woman and man, including this episode, were a casual thing. But now she has feelings and probably didn't notice, and Ava is feeling the same, and it's too cute. It's very cute. I loved Leo saying they were flirting and Gideon asking if they needed privacy. Heart eyes can't lie. I can't wait to see this relationship go forward. I still want Nissa back, though.
Yeah, that's tough. I
We
mean,
all
they're
do.
actually writing Agent Char really well as being a very suitable match for Sarah, and it's making me like her more and more. So as much as I love Nissa, and we know Nissa's coming back to Arrow this season for an episode.
I know.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not. Nissa's one of my favorite characters of all time through all these shows, but I think I'm liking Sharp to be Sarah's partner.
At least for now, I'm enjoying it as well.
Yeah.
All right. She continues. This is a long feedback. This is awesome. I think this was Wentworth's last episode, right? It's so sad because we all love him. At least he had a lot to do in this episode, didn't die, and will go back to his Earth to marry Ray. I have hope we'll see him again.
As do we all.
Yeah. I know. I'd love to see him again. All right. Amaya told Kuasa that she needs Nate. As I'm saying all along that I think he's the father of Amaya's daughter, I have two theories. One, she saw this information in the future, or two, she's pregnant. Oh. I love Tracy Fature, the actress who plays Kuasa, and I can't wait to see more family reunion. Those are some theories.
It's a sensitive thing to. I don't even know how to word this properly, but it's hard for me to accept Nate being the father just because of the actresses they chose. Kuasa is quite a bit darker than Amaya, and if it's Nate is half the bloodline, I find that kind of an
hard to believe
way to get to that skin tone difference. So yeah, it's a popular theory, and yeah, I don't know.
It is a popular theory, but he would be her grandfather, so
yeah, but still, yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I think for me, I think Amaya eventually goes back to Africa. They erase her mind, and she just lives her normal life and has a normal kid, and off we go.
Yeah, we'll see how they handle that.
Mm-hmm.
All right. She continues. I don't like Rip still being mentioned. I only liked him when he lost his memory, so I really don't want him back.
I'm so with you, Karina.
But when he does, he'll be on the Legend's way to defeat Mallus, and I'll be annoyed by his presence, so I'm definitely not looking forward to his return.
You're not alone there. Yeah.
Take it or leave it at this point. Anyway, I'm sorry if my feedback is a bit confusing. I'm at work and I can't concentrate much while everyone's talking. I give this episode 8 out of 10 girlfriends who are guys. Talk to you soon, Karina.
Yeah, she was probably just meaning that one for us, but that's okay. It's kind of funny. Your feedback made total sense, and it was wonderful. We loved hearing from you, and it was great to get to have you to be on here with us because of how awesome you are towards us. So, awesome rating.
Oh, yeah, sorry. If I wasn't supposed to read the last part, I just kind of get on a roll and I keep going.
No worries, but that's okay. Thank you so much for that, Karina. Let's move on to a voicemail from our green butterfly.
Hi, this is your eye in the sky green butterfly. Is it over yet? Guys, that episode was super scary. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for my love for Sara Lance and this podcast, I think I would have shut it off. I love Constantine's sass. But this episode reminded me why I watched one episode of his show and had to shut it off.
Mm-hmm.
I do, however, appreciate that they are bringing back the storyline of Sarah's soul being restored, because I always thought there would be additional consequences to that. The darkness would always be there under the surface somewhere, and I love when they reward longtime watchers of the entire Berlanti universe by bringing these little pieces back after so long to remind you that every little thing that happens in this universe matters and can possibly come back later. So I'm anxiously awaiting the results of Sarah letting the darkness come back in. I wonder if we'll see John Noble as Mallus, or if Mallus will continue to be speaking through other characters. I would love to see John Noble. He plays evil so eloquently. And if we did see him in this episode, and you're talking back to my feedback right now, I probably had my eyes closed. Because did I mention this was super scary? Thankful for Mick bringing the funny, bossing everyone around, acting like he's captain while trying to watch the football game. I was thankful for that scene. This episode gets 9 out of 10. I simply can't look. There's demons afoot. Have a super week. Green butterfly out.
Love it.
She's awesome. I could imagine her holding her little green wings in front of her eyes. That it's definitely a tough episode to get through for the faint of heart. But I do have one answer for her. We will unfortunately not be seeing John Noble on this show. I did
holding out
read.
hope.
I know. I read recently. They are actually. We're not going to see Mallus till the very, very end, and he's going to be full CGI.
Really?
Yeah, they're saying.
Now that is fascinating. Now I'm picturing Sauron.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, but they're just saying that they're pushing Legends boundaries on the effects and everything with this one, and they're quite proud and quite happy with what they've got so far. So
very cool.
So there you go.
Well, now I'm excited. I'm slightly disappointed because I love John Noble, and Justina is right. He plays evil so well. Yeah. But I'm getting his voice, so I'll settle for it. And that description sounds really exciting. So now I'm really excited.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope you're doing okay, Green Butterfly. Thank you for the awesome voicemail. I don't think we'll have another scary one for a little while, but you never know because it's Mallus we're dealing with. So we'll see.
I know. Thanks for pushing through, though.
All right. Our last email is from Arcphase, and he says, "Greetings, Wonder Twins. We got to see how Nora became the fierce sorceress she is now. Who knew she had met Mallus as early as 2017 and was instrumental in leading her to inevitably revive her father? Yeah, who knew?
Mm-hmm.
And she was quite the scary little girl. Just like the movie The Exorcist, this episode would give chills to many unexpected viewers. Yeah, I think it shocked quite a few people. From this episode, we also find out that Mallus is actually a demon, and quite a powerful one as well, being able to overcome even Constantine's own magic and being able to exist across time in 2017 and 1969. That is also a good point we didn't bring up. Yeah.
I didn't think about that at all. That's a very good point.
He's possessing two people across two different times. Yeah, because they've actually explained to us before that he is within time. He is past, present, and future. Remember?
That's true. Yeah, he exists all throughout time. There is no... Yeah, he is everything.
Yeah. Not sure why Constantine doesn't stay, considering how his magic could be useful in their fight against Mallus. Hopefully Ray will not have to use the anti-magic gun on Sarah despite that warning as well. Well, I threw my prediction in the hat there, so we're going to see what happens with that. The way this show, and actually what Justina also said, is how she agreed with you that all these little things that happen in this universe always seem to come around and back again, so you got to pay attention. I think the fact that he was working on a nanite gun will come back. Because right now we're waiting for Zari to finish her programming, so it's going to come back.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll come back.
That was too much. They don't make it that big of a deal, and it's not going to come back.
Yeah.
All right, so he said, of course, we also get to learn that the theory that many suggested is true. The key to stopping Mallus is the 6 totems, not 5. Yep, we still got to find out about that. Perhaps the next episode will start on a search for the remaining totems and clues of the unknown totem will surface. More waiting to find out from ArcPhase. Well, according to Harley here, our next episode is all about Zari, so I don't know if we're going to get any more information towards the totems or anything. But, well, actually, no, we probably could. It's Zari. We might find out how she got her totem and all that.
We might. I'm hoping we'll get more of her backstory, although I do believe there will be an upcoming episode about a totem. So
yeah,
there has to be. We still are missing. We're still missing at least 1. Well, technically 3, but we're definitely missing 1 as far as we know from Vixen.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, thanks for that, ArcPhase, and thank you everybody for your feedback. It is awesome to have people back with us. Hopefully the next couple of weeks that it's just us, we get an onslaught of feedback. That'll be fun.
Yay. Yeah, it's great to be back. Join the party. Send in your feedback.
And this is how you do that.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to tomorrowslegends@gmail.com. That's spelled with 1 R. You can also reach us on Twitter at tomorrowslegends, also with 1 R. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/tomorrowslegends and become part of the community.
And that wraps it up for us for our comeback episode, Harley.
Oh man, there was a lot to cover, and we sure covered it.
We sure did. Yeah, we'll have to do some magic editing behind the scenes and trim it down a tiny bit. But I also don't really care because, as I always say, let the content dictate the length. And we got stuff to talk about. And we've been gone for a while, so I'm sure people are just hopefully glad to have us back.
I certainly hope so.
Yeah. But what do you have any info about next week's episode, what it's called, or anything like that?
Oh, I'm sure that I probably do know what it's called, but at the moment it's sort of escaping me. I do know that it is the Zari-centric episode, so that should be super exciting.
Awesome. Okay. Well, when that comes back, we'll know.
We will. Next week, on Monday. Don't forget.
Don't forget. All right, Legendaires. We're so happy to be back, and we're so glad that you guys are back with us. Let's hope for a finishing run that is out of this timeline. This is The Flash, signing off.
And this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast Network. Find our show in Apple Podcasts, where you can leave a rating and review. We'd love that. You can also find us in Google Play Music, Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn Radio, and Stitcher. Please share the show, and thanks for listening.